Are you an ambitious, driven entrepreneur starting to feel overwhelmed, maybe a little trapped by your business? Well, I have a solution for you. It is the 5-day Bottleneck to Breakthrough Challenge, where in an hour a day, we will give you the roadmap, the blueprint, the treasure map to where you can find yourself with more free time, more freedom of money, and a more valuable business. Hope to see you soon. www.bottlenecktobreakthrough.com. Hello and welcome to The Real Bottom Line. My guest today is the fabulous Kim Skermer. And don't say LinkedIn doesn't work, because that's how Kim and I met. And I'm so excited to have her as a guest because she is recently joined us in the ranks of entrepreneurship from corporate. Kim, how did that happen? Tell us your story.
You know, when we're recording this, we're 3 days away from year 4. And my story, long but short, was I was retired. And that's the very nice corporate way of saying I was laid off and my division was sold.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. And it was this really interesting understanding of where profits sit within business, what matters and what is scalable. So me coming into year 4 and how it happened was I was let go over Zoom. It was June 30th, 2020. Yeah.
Well, you're in COVID. Your business
Right.
is
We're in COVID, right? So we're trying to deal with all these emotions. And so adding all that emotion of, I'm not sure if I would have been called to a conference room in a hotel when the corporate kiss off happens or over Zoom. And it was very interesting. I left my camera on. There was two other of us in the room. And I left my camera on. The others didn't.
Ooh.
And I left my camera on because I understood it.
You knew it was coming?
I knew it was coming. I didn't know when or how or what it was going to look like. I just knew something was going to happen because I've always been really in touch and in tune with the background stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course I had some grief and some, upsetness and things like that. But it was this whole part of thank you. And it was so weird. And I left that camera on because I wanted to smile and say thank you.
Right.
And that's really weird because 99.9% of our stories when we leave corporate, there's some
door slamming.
Yeah. It's not a word that starts with a T. It's a different word, right?
Yeah.
With the U on the end.
Yeah.
So it was really different, and it's been incredible, and I've learned so much.
Because you were pretty a senior role. Like were you in the C-suite or kind of just below that?
Just below the C-suite. So in the pecking order, I was number 4 within our division.
Oh my goodness.
And there was a lot of responsibility, and there was a lot of people that I was responsible for, and there was a lot of things on that plate. And so having that responsibility, being responsible for thousands and thousands of individuals and their business, and then leading a division that led within coaching and business and development and creating the programs, training the wholesalers. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Do you think the way you handled that Zoom call with the camera on and the thank you, did it make it easier to transition into self-employment? Like, because you expressed gratitude versus another emotion that might have been more negative?
It's actually led to my number 1 question to know if someone is coachable or not.
Oh.
So we have all these conversations and everyone sits around the table all the time. How do you know somebody's coachable? And here it is. If they go through some crap, when they go through some crap, and through that experience, if they show up as a victim and they blame Wendy or Sean or Bob or whoever, they blame everyone else.
Yeah.
But their accountability on that situation, they're not coachable. So after me going through this situation and understanding what accountability I held within that situation and that experience, and where I can take that playback loop and that audit, because every failure is a chance for us to audit of what we can do better next time.
Oh, it's a learning experience.
Right? It's huge. It's huge. So me being able to learn of that part of what can I do with this and what do I own and how can I do this better next time was an incredible piece. And to this day, every strategy call I have with a first client is I ask that question of tell me about an absolute failure. And then if they go off and blame everyone else, they're not ready to change yet. They're not ready to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
They're not ready for coaching. They're not ready to do the big work you need to do to move forward. It's a big
Fascinating.
one.
I
Yeah.
have a friend of mine who's in the employment assessment area, and he says one of the best questions he finds for whether to hire someone or not is to say, "Tell me something funny that happened to you."
Ah,
And if they laugh at themselves, it's something that, you know what I mean, versus something that someone else did that they found funny.
yeah.
The example he uses is the guy who talks about how he watched this person with a 60-inch screen TV try and put it on top of his car in the rain, thought that was really funny, is probably not someone he would hire, because it was they were laughing at someone versus themselves.
Themselves. Yeah. There's another really saying that I love and I giggle out about all the time. And it's kind of the, my therapist and my response and then therapist, right? So the therapist, says, tell me about your childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And, I would respond of, well, it made me really damn funny. And the therapist is like, no, not it. But I'm like, it did. It made me really funny.
It's a coping mechanism, isn't it? Humor
Yeah,
is a deflection at
completely
times.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it completely is. Yeah.
So in 3 to 4, did you say fourth year anniversary? So amazing.
Fourth year.
There was a lot of businesses started in COVID. I call them
Yeah.
COVID babies.
Yeah.
So,
Incredible.
what have you learned in the first few years of your COVID baby?
Hmm. I think the most important part of I learned out of all of this is sharing with people and helping them understand that there really is a fundamental path within the development of a human being and the development of a business. There are all these misnomers out there, these misunderstandings, and it's these what is popular out there and being shown. So you have this comparative itis out there, and
Mm,
you compare your day one to someone else's day 100. It's that part of this manic part that you show up of, can someone just listen to me?
mm-hmm.
When it's actually yourself you need to pause and listen to first
Ooh,
before anybody can hear you. And the biggest part is I never gave myself time to grieve. So even though I left on good terms, I was smiling, I was happy, I was thankful. Grief is about a loss.
yeah.
And so I lost the routine. I lost even benefits, that part of it, right? I lost that routine of going in every
Coworkers.
day, coworkers, the water talk, that, it's grief. So everybody that I coach and talk to, I
Yep.
won't coach them in the beginning of the years. That's the
Oh,
biggest waste of their money
mm,
ever, because they have to go grieve. They
mm-hmm.
have to go understand why they're doing this. They have to go screw up before they're ready. That was my biggest piece, is grief.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I always grieve the loss of a regular paycheck every 2 weeks, and IT support.
Right, right. I miss that a lot. I still stay connected to my old IT team. I still actually send them notes.
As you should, as you should.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
an interesting lesson to actually know that you need that space
Mhm.
from, some level of trauma. If it's leaving a job or something happened, even now in your business, you need to sort through it before you're ready to be coached.
I do.
How would you recommend someone sort through something like that?
Mm. It's a big question I've been asking myself for a very long time. So I've coached for over 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either from the position I've been in as an employee, in athletics, and now out on my own with my own shingle out. And looking at it all and trying to figure out, how do you discover, what do you go through,
Yeah.
where it is. And I leaned into a lot of the tensions I felt, because when we feel a tension,
Mm-hmm.
it means that it's something we either disagree with or that we're not doing ourselves.
Can you give me
And
an example of that, please?
sure, sure. So I'll use my own personal situation that I actually had to work through last week. I see other coaches show up, and I get really upset when I see the 10x your business and just do my program and do this and do that. And I'm sitting there going, please stop being the false prophet. Can you please stop doing that? Because that's not that simple. It's not that basic. And stop just telling me do this, do this, do that. It's not that easy. It's very unique. And the reason why I had such tension is because they're showing up and spieling their thing and they're believing in what they are saying. Let it be right or wrong, or let me agree
Mhm.
or not. They're showing up.
Yes.
And it was at a point in time where I took a break and I'm in a transition and an evolution where I'm not showing up.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that, do they suck? Well, maybe. I don't know. Who do I know? But what can I control? And it's, I'm not showing up.
Well, thank you for showing up today because that's really
You're
interesting.
welcome.
So, the thing that annoys you about something else that's going on, you're seeing when you're comparing yourself, could actually be a deficit in your own game.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We see it's perception, right? We see we see what's hidden in our subconscious. We honestly, that's what we see. So what we surround with ourselves consciously or subconsciously, it's incredibly important. It's telling us a message.
Hmm. Is that where
Mhm.
you're the sum total of the five people you hang out with?
Yeah, completely. Whenever I'm in bad, grouchy, I call them Kimmy Pissy Pants weeks, right? And so when I'm having that really bad week, I know that I'm not hanging around the right people, or I'm not feeding myself the right information, TV shows, media, whatever it may be. I know it's out of alignment. I know it's out of alignment.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, your business today, tell me a bit about what you're doing, who you're serving, and what are some things that we could pass on to other entrepreneurs from what you do?
Whenever I asked of who's my ideal client, and I do this with everyone else, and it's always funny how when you have to do it for yourself. And it's this part of, I am the person for the high achieving individual, the driven individual who asks, how can I do this better?
Mm,
It's a constant in their mind.
yeah.
So there's a difference between driven and high achieving of, there's a hustle and then there's improvement. So
Mhm,
it's that key part of, how can I do this better? Because you've got to go on this journey, and I'm that coach, that fractional CEO standing for you at the gate of your path.
mhm.
And that's a big difference of, you've got to go through that total piece and that part. And so where I am today and what a big conversation is about is for those individuals of, how can I do this better? Because they are, and they've read the books and they've heard the stories. They understand the 7 habits of highly successful people. They've, the buy back your times, the atomic habits. They've gone through all that and they read it and going, okay, I know A plus B plus C equals, but how? How do I do that? And that's that big part that we've forgotten about and not paused enough in thought leadership and thought for ourselves independently of, how can I do this better uniquely? So it led me to a formula and a format of Find the Calm. And it's kind of
Okay.
very, very exciting.
I love that you've differentiated between the what and the how because that applies so much to my business as well. Because I feel
Yeah.
like the traditional financial plan is put a bunch of data into a software and it pumps out, here's what you have to do. But there's
Hmm.
no one saying, here's how you do it. And so I like to build plans that actually show you how to achieve those what's. So I think there's a big disconnect, and a lot of people in the consultant world fall short with just the showing you, yes, you should do this. Excellent. Okay. Now, how?
Right?
There's
Awesome.
a
I know.
disconnect. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of what. It's the
Yeah.
how, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I agree completely. There's a part, I coach people in advisory based businesses, and a lot of my clientele are financial advisors because that's where I came from. So I love the industry. It's very, very dear to me. My parent company name, I laugh my head off every time I say it because it's RST Private Planning Group, and it stands for Really Sucky Things. Like, that's the name of my parent company, is Really Sucky Things. The conversation about finance sucks, claiming sucks, all those things. We need to have more humor again
yeah.
in the whole situation in life, and be real, because we've lost humor. But there's one part, I was working with a financial advisor down in the States, and she was serving women. And I'm going, okay, that's great. Everyone's serving women. I don't give a rat's hootie about women. Like, who are they? What do they want? What do they want to overcome? And through that whole process, I thought it was one of the most magical pieces that came from it. And it was, women don't buy a financial plan, they buy more memories, more opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
more relationships, and more experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what financial planners do. And by watching you, Wendy, when we first met, and why I've engaged with you too, is you do it and you get it. Like you absolutely get it.
Mm,
Don't give me money shame. Don't do all that. Help me how. I know I've got the baggage.
yeah.
Help me how, right?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because I think in some ways, as we segue back into finding the calm, tell me
Mhm.
more about what you do with your clients on that, and why is finding the calm important?
Hmm. And calm is so many different things for so many different people at the beginning, right? And it's meditating for one person, it's sitting down by the water, another it could be skydiving. And the best way to explain it is flow state of mind,
Okay.
right? So when you are looking at that end goal of finding the calm, you want to find your flow state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to be in that part, in that position, you have to accept and understand and do the fundamental things of what it takes to be whole as a person and to be whole as a business. So, are you okay if I kind of talk on the
Oh,
personal
please,
side a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah.
Rick? Okay. Um, so on the personal side, there is a conversation around the psychology part of archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
So an archetype, if you don't know what an arc is, it's just a symbol to help you relate to a certain experience is probably the best way to say it. So Carl Jung is one of the most famous ones talking about archetypes. And so he has a basic philosophy of we go through four fundamental arcs in the human development. And the first one is a poet. So when we are first born, it's about wonderment, it's about creativity, it's about imagination, it's about innovation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then as we grow up a little bit more and we stop, with our imaginary friends and building incredible things and wearing our superhero capes, we now become a soldier.
Okay.
So the fundamental behavioral part that we need to go through is to take direction, to have structure, to be able to march in order to a greater cause, finding your peers, like minded people, right? And then when we do those things, we have our imagination, we have our wonderment, we now have structure around it. We now go and can step into our wisdom, which is our sage. And that he
Mm,
talks about the archetype sage. So now we're sitting in sage, we're sharing our wisdom, we're sharing our information. And then there's that last part of king. And that king is that whole part about ruling your reign. It's about showing up and really giving back and serving your community in the best way that you can do it. And that is about bringing people in, bringing in alliance, bringing in teams. Like think of monarchy.
right.
There are certain different peoples that serve in the right way. So that's that whole fundamental part of the archetypes of the the human development of a person, of going from poet to soldier to sage and to king. So I've developed the same thing within business, and it's find the calm.
Okay. So, do people get stuck at certain parts of that
Yes.
development? Is that where we see that things that have happened to us could potentially stall us in one of those
Yes.
roles?
It's huge. So find the calm. Calm stands for create, align, lead, and master.
Mm-hmm.
So it mimics the exact same thing of the experience and the evolution of a human
Yeah.
is the evolution of business, right? So you have to go create in your first couple of years. That's why I say don't ever hire a business development coach because it's a waste of money.
Right.
You're not going to tell a 6-year-old that they can't have a lollipop at 9 o'clock at night. And so you're not going to tell a new business owner that their idea is dumb and they're
Right.
not going to listen to you, right? They're going to find a way.
Yeah.
So let them go have those screw ups, those important moments, right? Align, structure, right? Lead, wisdom, and mastery. That's your high niche, that's your expertise. And in life, we get stuck in structure,
Mm-hmm.
and in business, we get stuck in structure. So when we look at those two elements and those pieces, if you are going to, and I'm here's a disclaimer, I'm not a therapist, but I'm a big believer and a proponent of therapy, and I do a lot of research on human behavioral and behavioral economics. When you are looking at really successful entrepreneurs, they come from chaos, they come from trauma.
Mm.
They've had to go and ask that question of how can I do this better?
Yeah.
So when they were younger, they were lacking structure. They were lacking the soldier phase. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you were younger, parents divorced, low income family, not being seen, heard, having to do it on their own,
Yeah.
right? And figure it out. The same thing happens in the business life. They forget about that whole alignment part, the structure part, the training, the things they want to do, because they are so used to having to do it alone. So in the entrepreneurial world, that's the biggest work, is in that whole part of alignment. And where I say, go talk to someone, make sure you have someone on this side too, on your personal side, to help you through that structure part too. It's big.
I think that the mindset piece, which is where I think we're really talking about, is
It
so
is.
key. And you can be 100% firing on the work side, on the comm side, but I think if you're not moving along on the personal side as well, it can actually slow you down, cause self-sabotage, all those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It gets in the way, and mindset has become,
almost
it's
too
become this,
ubiquitous.
right? It's been overused so much, or in the wrong context, or, I call them, there's gurus in my mind and there's experts in my mind. And guru used to be a wonderful, wonderful word. Used to be a fantastic word. And it's become a bit, excuse my language, but bastardized, right?
Mm,
So now the gurus prey on that emotion that you wish to achieve and come. So they kind of understand what you're looking for and what it is, and they just prey on that. An expert helps you uncover that emotion that you are feeling and how
mm,
to get there. That's a massive difference. And
yes.
if we actually slow down and took time to understand, okay, what am I truly looking for? And what am I looking to fix?
Yeah.
COVID scares me. When, me being one of the businesses that started with COVID, there is so many businesses that happened. The great resignation that happened, over 75% of the great resignation that happened were women resigning to go start their own businesses. And for different reasons, whatever it may be. And now we see so many businesses failing
Yeah.
and not making it, and the debt out there and all these pieces and parts. If we actually understood the mindset and had deeper conversations, it would be fantastic. But it's just hard. It's hard to sort through the noise.
Well, I also think entrepreneurship has been kind of put up on this pedestal as an ideal. And quite frankly, not everybody is suited for it.
No, no. If you have to outwork yourself in corporate at least 10 times more,
Yeah.
right? When you're an entrepreneur, and there are a lot of tough questions. It is that whole part of your first couple of years you're creating. You now got to align some structure. You now have to lead in your wisdom and be brave enough. So it's not a corporate brand you're attached to. It's now your emotional fingerprint on your digital footprint.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
Well,
It's
and
really hard.
there's also this big mind shift that you have to make too inside of your mind,
Yeah.
because when you get a paycheck, let's say that's not commission based, like if even if partial of your pay packet is not
Mhm.
commission based or bonused, then you're rewarded for effort. When you get into entrepreneurship, you're only rewarded on results.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurial world actually doesn't care how hard you try. They
No.
just care that someone said yes and
Yeah.
give you some money.
Yeah. It's funny. The new trend right now is, you know, entrepreneurs grabbing their cameras and, filming themselves crying, and how hard this is, and stuff like that. I'm going, honey, if you knew how many times I've been in the fetal position sucking my thumb in the corner, or downing a glass of wine, all, like, this is natural. You have to get ready to do this, right? And it's very funny. I write myself notes every morning, and the note that I wrote myself about that part when I was having a hard time is, pain is not optional. It's not at all in business. Pain is not optional. The suffering is.
Ooh.
That's what's optional. So when you understand that, and you work with people that help you through those pieces, and it's why I love what you do. Right? When you become an entrepreneur, nobody's taking your taxes for you, right? Your deductions aren't happening.
No.
You don't understand what it all looks like. It's this really interesting piece of what really takes in that switch and that mindset and that accountability in those first couple of years. So when all the gurus are out there saying, take my program and do this and do that, it's more to that. It's
And
so much
you
more to
should be able
that.
to do it all from a beach with a laptop.
Right? A beach, and you're flying all over the place, and look at my beautiful office. No, that's not your office. That's a studio.
That is hilarious.
Right.
Kim, what haven't I asked you that you'd love to share?
I think the best part is if you are completely wanting to be an entrepreneur and going into business, I want you to be aware of the reason why you wanted to start the business, like truly, truly. And I mean the why going down to the I, because
Mhm.
that's the find the I, find the calm.
Yeah.
The calmest place of a storm is in the eye of the storm. So once you understand the I,
Yeah.
you know where to navigate through that storm. So the reason why you start that business, the I, is going to be the reason also why you have a hard time selling it or letting it go or transitioning it, exiting out of it. I want you to be really aware of that part of why you started it today is why you're going to have the hiccups
Yep.
when you go to transition. So just ask lots of questions anywhere and anyone you're getting help from, hire slow and fire fast. That's my greatest advice.
That's awesome. How do people reach out and get a hold of you, Kim?
I love being chatted to on either LinkedIn, where we met.
Yes.
I love that. Loving LinkedIn, I'm very active there, and Instagram. So
Mhm.
everything is either under Kim Skermer. My name and stuff will be in the notes, or on my website, theapproachcoachingmethod.ca.
Awesome. This has been a delight. I can't believe 30 minutes went so quickly.
No, I just looked down. I heard that we have an old boat in the shipyard right now, and the horn just went off. The lunch horn just went off. I'm like, oh wow, that's fast.
That went really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think the real bottom line here, and the line I'm taking away the most is business pain is not optional. The suffering is.
Yes.
Thank you for coming today, Tim.
You're
Kim.
welcome. Thank you.